match number 5. And our main event of the evening would see the SOS World title defended in a 4-way cage match. We had the challengers CoreyMcRae, Oscar, and PJKnight taking on Richie. Now, McRae came out as cocky as ever. Oscar was intense. PJ was as confident as you could imagine, but he was given the definite boos and jeers being the WAW superstar. But he is a member of the British royal family of wrestling. There's no denying how talented he is. And Richie would be in danger here, putting his strap on the line against 3 very talented individuals. And I mean, this was carnage from the start. You'd see Richie launch himself at CoreyMcRae, and they'd both be sent into the cage. You'd see McRae hit a moonsault on all the others, discus lariat by him on Richie, and then absolutely go to town on Oscar. Oscar would hit a jumping neck breaker. PJ would be sent flying. This was absolute carnage. You'd see Richie try to get an early escape, but you'd see a Tower of Doom form, all 4 men involved, with McRae at the bottom performing the powerbomb. It was just the fans, honestly, at that moment. That would just honestly, folks, this one just erupted at that point. You know, the fans were just wild and raucous at this point. I mean, they'd been enjoying it up to this point, but at that moment in time, just wow, just the roof could have blown off that place. Power bombs galore, loads of near falls. You know, obviously, a lot going on. Now, I forgot to say that this one was actually elimination style as well. So the first elimination would you'd see a double team by CoreyMcRae and PJKnight, who decided to team up, and they first took out Oscar, who absolutely put on a great showing. And you'd see then McRae and PJ just team up, and they'd start beating Richie down. Fans chanting for Richie. He'd be fighting on, but you see a DDT on CoreyMcRae, but PJ would break up the count. You know, just honestly, Richie was at this point completely outnumbered. He'd hit a double lariat on PJ and McRae, and that rolls off the tongue, didn't it? PJ and McRae, and Richie would look to climb up, but yeah, this was just. Yeah, there was so much action. It was ridiculous. Electric chair drops. Then you'd see McRae turn on PJKnight. But this wouldn't work well for McRae, and I was thoroughly actually disappointed when he'd be rolled up by Richie and get eliminated from the match. But at this point, McRae would hit a spiked pile driver on Richie, and then he'd throw PJ into the cage out of jealousy, out of spite, I don't know. Paul Terrell would actually have to remove him from the cage. You'd see an exchange of chops. PJKnight and Richie exchanging chops. Yes, please, give me more. You'd see both these guys try to escape the cage through the door. You'd see PJ locking the Rings of Saturn. That's my favourite submission maneuver. I mean, it's just, I've loved it since I first saw it, and I'll love it till the very end. Now, this one had some interference. Sullivan King would actually come out, and he'd prevent Richie from escaping and picking up a well hard-earned victory. He'd bring a chair into the mix, and PJ would use the chair to wipe Richie out, and then hit another pile driver, and we would have a new champion. Now, at this point, Oscar Hyde would come out, and he tried to cash in his title opportunity, but the match didn't start. It didn't get underway thanks to Sully, and so the cash-in didn't count. Anyway, honestly, this match, what a great way to finish the evening. It was absolutely intense. You know, Oscar, fully deserving of being in that match. He put a great shift in. You know, absolute fantastic showing by him. CoreyMcRae, honestly, nothing against the other guys. I'm a McRae fan, have been since I first ever saw him in action years ago, and I was so gutted that he didn't win didn't win the title. I'll be perfectly honest, as I say, he's such an immense talent. He's just brutality everywhere he goes. You know, Richie, honestly, he's held that title for a while. The guy's just a he's a whole nother talent. He's so technically sound, such a gifted talent. Absolutely love seeing him in action, and you know he'd still be champion if it wasn't for the outside interference from Sullivan King. But PJ Knight, you know, PJ Knight, member of the Brit Rest Royal family of wrestling, you know, great wrestler, great technical wrestler again, and you know he's got a whole faction behind him. He's always going to come through. If you get a chance to see any of these four guys in action, do so for yourselves.